If the buzzing under your skin has been getting louder, if your mind has been racing for no reason, if you felt like something invisible has been pressing against your life and you cannot explain why, then stop everything and listen carefully, because what you are about to hear may explain the chaos you have been carrying for years. This message is not random. You did not find this video by accident. The energy field always guides people to truth at the exact moment they are ready to hear it. And right now, there is a reason you are here. There is a frequency around you, within you, moving through your thoughts, your body, your emotions. And if you do not understand what it is, it can continue shaping your reality without your permission. But the moment you recognize it, the moment you claim your power back, everything can begin to shift. So before we go deeper, do this now. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, share it with someone whose energy has been unstable lately, and comment the word released below. That single word is a declaration to your field that you are ready to let go of what no longer belongs to you. Do it now, because today's transmission is urgent, and once you hear it, you may never see your struggles the same way again. You have felt it before. Maybe late at night when the room was silent but your nervous system was loud. Maybe in the middle of an ordinary day when nothing was technically wrong, yet something inside you felt off. Maybe during conversations where other people seemed calm, but inside you there was static, tension, pressure, like a storm trying to break through your skin. You called it stress. You called it anxiety. You called it being tired, overwhelmed, sensitive, emotional, dramatic, burned out, distracted, broken, cursed, unlucky, or just having one of those days. But what if none of those labels were correct? What if what you have been feeling is something deeper, something energetic, something hidden beneath the language humans usually use to explain discomfort? There is a sensation many people are carrying right now, and it is growing stronger across the collective field. It often begins as subtle unease, a low hum beneath your thoughts, a feeling that something is unfinished, restlessness without cause, irritation without reason, a sense that you need to move, change, escape, cry, scream, sleep, or disappear, but you cannot tell what would actually help. You try to distract yourself. You scroll your phone. You eat something. You drink caffeine. You seek comfort. You seek noise. You seek another person's attention. Yet even after those moments of relief, the buzzing returns. Why? Because the source was never external. Most people believe emotional discomfort begins in the mind. They think thoughts create feelings and feelings create reactions. Sometimes that is true, but there is another layer many ignore: frequency. Every human being exists inside an energetic field. Your body is electrical, your heart emits signals, your nervous system responds to patterns, your emotions carry charge, your repeated thoughts create resonance. And everything you expose yourself to, people, places, media, trauma, unresolved memories, family conditioning, collective fear, can influence the field you carry. Imagine walking through life wearing invisible clothing made of energy. Some layers are yours, created through your own choices and beliefs. Other layers were handed to you before you knew how to say no. Childhood tension, family anger, generational fear, emotional burdens absorbed from caregivers, expectations from society, shame from past mistakes, rejection from people who misunderstood you, pain you never processed. Every unresolved imprint becomes a signal. Every signal becomes a tone. Every tone contributes to the frequency you hold. When too many conflicting signals gather in one field, instability begins. That instability does not always look dramatic at first. Sometimes it looks like waking up tired after sleeping 8 hours. Sometimes it looks like snapping at someone you love over something tiny. Sometimes it looks like procrastinating on the very thing you know would help you. Sometimes it looks like feeling emotionally heavy for no visible reason. Sometimes it looks like a body that cannot relax even when danger is gone. Sometimes it looks like numbness. Sometimes it looks like being unable to feel joy without guilt. This is why some people keep trying to solve energetic problems with surface-level methods. They say, "I need more discipline." But discipline cannot stabilize a field carrying hidden chaos. They say, "I need motivation." But motivation cannot overpower a frequency tuned to exhaustion. They say, "I need to think positive." But positive thoughts placed over unstable energy often feel fake, temporary, and frustrating. They say, "I just need a vacation." But many people return from vacations feeling lighter for a week, then sink back into the same heaviness because they never changed the frequency beneath the lifestyle. Have you ever noticed how certain patterns repeat no matter how much effort you make? The same type of conflict, the same emotional crash, the same self-sabotage, the same inability to rest, the same attraction to chaos, the same fear right before progress, the same loneliness even when surrounded by people. That repetition is often frequency seeking familiarity. Unstable energy recreates conditions that match itself. It pulls similar experiences into orbit because resonance always looks for resonance. This is why two people can live in the same city, work similar jobs, face similar challenges, yet experience life very differently. One moves through stress and returns to balance quickly. The other gets swallowed by every disturbance. One can feel pressure without becoming pressure. The other becomes the mood of every room they enter. One knows how to reset. The other carries every impact forward. The difference is not worth. It is not intelligence. It is not luck. Often, it is field stability. Right now, many sensitive people are feeling the collective instability intensify. You may sense it as random, sadness, sudden anger, strange fatigue, desire to isolate, heightened intuition, trouble sleeping, vivid dreams, irritation with noise, feeling emotionally crowded even when alone. These experiences can happen when your personal field is reacting not only to your own stored patterns, but to larger waves moving through society. Fear spreads quickly, anxiety spreads quickly, conflict spreads quickly. Human beings are more connected energetically than most realize. But here is the critical truth. Sensing instability does not mean you are weak. Feeling the buzzing does not mean you are broken. Often it means you are aware enough to notice what others numb themselves from. Some people do not feel their instability because they are constantly distracted. Some do not notice because chaos feels normal to them. Some do not detect it because they are disconnected from their bodies entirely. Sensitivity can feel like a burden until you realize it is also intelligence. Your system is signaling that something needs attention. The problem begins when you misinterpret the signal. If you think the buzzing means danger, you panic. If you think it means something is wrong with you, you spiral. If you think it means you need to control everything around you, you exhaust yourself. If you think it means another person must fix you, you give away power. If you think it means you must suppress it, the pressure builds. But if you understand it as information, everything changes. The buzzing is often not a punishment. It is not a curse. It is not proof of failure. It is feedback. It is the body and field communicating that stored charge is active. It is unresolved frequency asking to be seen. It is tension surfacing because it no longer wants to remain hidden. It is the system saying what you are carrying has reached the point where it can no longer stay silent. Think about how many people spend years ignoring subtle discomfort until it becomes crisis. They ignore stress until burnout, ignore resentment until explosion, ignore grief until numbness, ignore fear until paralysis, ignore inner truth until depression. Frequency behaves similarly. Quiet instability tolerated for long enough becomes louder instability. The whisper becomes a buzz. The buzz becomes a storm. The storm becomes an identity if never addressed. And that is where many get trapped. They begin to believe the unstable state is who they are. I am anxious. I am angry. I am broken. I am difficult. I am too much. I am cursed. Notice how quickly people fuse identity with temporary states. But what if you are not the instability? What if you are the awareness noticing instability passing through your field? What if the chaos you feel is something you carry, not something you are? That distinction changes everything. Because if you are the chaos, you are trapped. But if you are the one noticing chaos, you can transform your relationship to it. If you are the storm, you drown. If you are the sky, storms pass through you. If you are the buzzing, you become helpless. If you are the consciousness hearing the buzzing, you can respond with power. Many people are waiting for external life conditions to improve before they feel stable. They say, when I make more money, then I'll relax. When they apologize, then I'll heal. When the world calms down, then I'll feel peace. When I find the right relationship, then I'll feel safe. But unstable frequency often recreates instability regardless of circumstances. A person can get the relationship and still feel abandoned, get the success and still feel empty, get the vacation and still feel restless, get the apology and still feel bitter. Why? Because the field came with them. This is why the first step is awareness without judgment. Can you notice the buzzing without becoming it? Can you feel restlessness without obeying it? Can you witness pressure without labeling yourself defective? Can you admit something in your field is unstable without making it your identity? This kind of witnessing interrupts unconscious ownership. It creates space. And space is where transformation begins. Tonight, or maybe right now, you may notice sensations you usually ignore. Tightness in the chest, clenching jaw, racing thoughts, sudden sadness, a desire to run from stillness. If so, do not rush to fix anything yet. Simply observe. Say quietly within yourself, "Something is active in my field. I can feel it. I do not need to fear it to understand it." Now that you have recognized the buzzing, the restlessness, the pressure that seems to appear without warning, we need to go deeper into the truth most people never discover. Because if you misidentify the force affecting your life, you will keep using the wrong methods to deal with it. And many people spend years fighting symptoms while the real cause remains untouched. What you are calling stress may not be stress. What you are calling anxiety may not be anxiety. What you are calling bad luck, emotional weakness, moodiness, or self-sabotage may actually be the expression of an unstable frequency that has been living in your field for a very long time. So what is an unstable frequency? It is a pattern of conflicting energy moving through your mental, emotional, and physical systems without harmony. It is charge without resolution. It is emotion without processing. It is programming without awareness. It is energy moving in circles because it has never been fully acknowledged, integrated, or released. Imagine a radio trying to tune into 5 stations at once. Static, interference, noise, distortion. That is what many people are carrying internally every single day. One part of you wants peace. Another part expects disaster. One part wants love. Another part fears abandonment. One part wants growth. Another part fears change. One part wants success. Another part feels guilty for shining. One part wants rest. Another part only feels worthy when exhausted. These inner contradictions do not just exist as thoughts. They generate energetic tension. When opposing signals run at the same time, the field becomes unstable. This is why you can deeply desire something and still unconsciously block it. You say you want calm, but your nervous system is addicted to intensity. You say you want healthy love, but your subconscious trusts inconsistency because it feels familiar. You say you want freedom, but your identity was built around struggle. You say you want happiness, but pain has become the lens through which you understand yourself. These contradictions are not moral failures, they are frequency conflicts. Where did they come from? Many began long before you had language for them. As a child, you learned the emotional weather of your environment. If home felt tense, your system learned vigilance. If love was unpredictable, your system learned anxiety. If praise came only through achievement, your system learned overperformance. If feelings were dismissed, your system learned suppression. If chaos was common, calm may now feel unnatural. Children absorb frequencies before they understand concepts. Think about that carefully. Before you chose beliefs, you inherited atmospheres. Before you formed identity, you adapted to conditions. Before you knew how to protect your energy, you synchronized with the people raising you. If adults around you carried fear, anger, shame, scarcity, addiction, resentment, or emotional instability, your developing field may have mirrored those signals simply to survive and belong. This does not mean blame, it means understanding. Many people pass on what they never healed. Then life added more layers. Rejection from peers, betrayal from people you trusted, humiliation, loss, heartbreak, failure, public embarrassment, loneliness, moments when you needed support and received silence. Every unresolved wound can create a signal. Every repeated signal can become part of the field. And once a pattern becomes familiar enough, the mind may call it personality. This is one of the greatest illusions humans live under. They mistake conditioning for identity. They say, "I'm just an anxious person." No, anxiety may be a practice state your system learned. "I'm just bad at relationships." No, You may be replaying attachment patterns you inherited. I'm lazy. No. You may be exhausted from carrying invisible charge. I always ruin opportunities. No. A fear-based frequency may activate whenever expansion approaches. I'm too emotional. No. Your body may simply be expressing what was suppressed for years. When unstable frequency remains unconscious, it quietly shapes choices. It decides who feels familiar to you. It decides what risks feel possible. It decides how much joy you can tolerate before sabotage begins. It decides whether silence feels peaceful or threatening. It decides whether compliments feel nourishing or suspicious. It decides whether rest feels safe or shameful. It decides how you interpret neutral events. It even decides what future you believe you deserve. Have you ever noticed how some people misread harmless situations as dangerous? A delayed text becomes rejection. A facial expression becomes criticism. A challenge becomes catastrophe. A disagreement becomes abandonment. This often happens when an unstable field is already primed for threat. The outer event is small, but it lands in an inner environment full of unresolved charge. The reaction seems bigger than the moment because the moment touched accumulated energy. That is why healing cannot be only intellectual. You can understand your patterns logically and still feel trapped emotionally. You can read books, watch videos, repeat affirmations, and still react the same way under pressure. Why? Because information reaches the mind faster than it reaches the field. The body remembers what the mind has already outgrown. The nervous system repeats what consciousness no longer agrees with. This gap between knowing and embodying is where many become discouraged. But awareness is still powerful because once you can name a pattern, you stop worshiping it. You stop calling it fate. You stop calling it just how I am. You stop assuming every feeling is truth. You begin to see that some emotions are echoes, some reactions are inherited, some fears are outdated alarms, and some heaviness belongs to stories that ended years ago. There is another source of instability few discuss: borrowed energy. Every person you spend time with influences your field to some degree. Negativity is contagious. Chronic complaint has a tone. Manipulation has a tone. Hidden resentment has a tone. Desperation has a tone. Some environments are saturated with frequencies of competition, fear, gossip, and depletion. If you are sensitive and ungrounded, you may carry home what was never yours. Then you wonder why you feel strange after certain interactions. This is why boundaries are energetic hygiene. It is not only about saying no with words. It is about noticing what enters you through exposure. The media you consume, the conversations you entertain, the spaces you remain in, the people whose chaos you normalize, all of it can tune your field over time. You become like what you repeatedly resonate with. Now listen carefully, because this may explain years of confusion. Unstable frequency often survives by hiding inside normal routines. It can look like constantly staying busy so you never feel yourself. It can look like needing noise to avoid silence. It can look like oversleeping yet never feeling rested. It can look like chasing relationships for validation. It can look like endless productivity with no peace. It can look like doom scrolling, binge eating, compulsive spending, emotional shutdown, people-pleasing, or starting fights to feel alive. Many coping habits are attempts to regulate unstable energy without understanding it. And here is why fighting it usually fails. When you attack a pattern with self-hatred, you add more instability. When you shame yourself for being triggered, you create secondary pain. When you demand instant perfection, you pressure an already pressured system. When you try to dominate inner chaos through force, the chaos often strengthens because resistance itself becomes more charge. This is why the Arcturian teaching says ownership must come before release. You cannot release what you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot transform what you keep calling someone else's fault. You cannot free yourself from a pattern while defending it as identity. You cannot stabilize a field while pretending nothing is active. Ownership means seeing clearly this may not have originated with me, but it is moving through me now. Therefore, I am the one who can end its journey here. That sentence alone can change a life. This pain may not have started with me, but it can stop with me. This fear may have been inherited, but it does not have to be transmitted. This chaos may have shaped me, but it does not have to define me. This instability may be present, but it is not permanent. The moment you understand unstable frequency as pattern rather than identity, your power returns. Because patterns can be observed, patterns can be interrupted, Patterns can be retrained. Patterns can be released. Identity feels fixed. Frequency is fluid. Identity sounds permanent. Frequency can shift in a moment when awareness, intention, and embodiment align. You may be asking, if it is so fluid, why has it lasted so long? Because repetition creates grooves. The longer a pattern runs unconsciously, the more natural it feels. A person can carry tension for so many years that relaxation feels suspicious. They can carry sadness so long that joy feels unsafe. They can carry struggle so long that ease feels undeserved. Familiarity is powerful. Humans often cling to painful known states over peaceful unknown ones. But once seen, the old spell weakens. Every time you notice a reaction and pause instead of obeying it, instability loses momentum. Every time you choose breath over impulse, truth over drama, stillness over compulsion, compassion over shame, the field begins reorganizing. Small moments of consciousness create large energetic consequences over time. Right now, some part of you may already know exactly what pattern has been owning you. Maybe it is anger, maybe fear, maybe emotional dependence, maybe exhaustion, maybe the need to control, maybe numbness, maybe the habit of abandoning yourself to keep others comfortable, maybe the constant expectation that something bad is about to happen. You do not need to solve it yet. You only need honesty.